I'm Carol Cohn, and welcome to Purpose 360, the podcast that unlocks the power of purpose to ignite business and social impact. I'm going to share with you in our next few podcasts conversations that were recorded live at the Engage for Good conference that was held last April. At Engage for Good, with almost 1,000 attendees, you have individuals that are engaging for good in their organizations of all sizes and from all geographies and in all different industries. Individuals coming together to share their knowledge, to gain more insights, to determine how in this challenging economic and political and global turmoil that we're experiencing today, how do we keep the work going forward? And why is it so important to do that? Well, I'd like to share with you that I was so honored to be named the Lifetime Achievement Award from Engage for Good amongst their renowned Halo Awards. The Halo Awards that were held on the last evening of the conference recognized all sorts of different partnerships and programs and individuals truly making this work really hard and gaining incredible impacts, even though there are significant challenges. So this is the first of 2 episodes that you'll hear from leaders, such as at companies like Mattel, or the Obama Foundation, OnPurpose Careers, Active Minds. So you're going to hear from all sorts of different segments of the purpose world. Now, these aren't polished keynote speakers. They're real conversations where I sat in corners of the conference with these individuals to share what's working, what's changing, and what it takes to build authentic impact that lasts. So whether you're leading purpose inside a company, building partnerships, or shaping the future of social impact, I know you'll find inspiration and practical insight in every one of these conversations. So let's get started. So I am so excited to bring to you Mattel, the Engage for Good Corporation of the Year.
Yes.
And please give me your titles and your roles, and so that our listeners can know the fabulous role that you had in making this award.
Absolutely. I'll start. I'm Nancy Molenda, and I'm the Vice President of Global Philanthropy and Corporate Events at Mattel.
And I'm Brittany Cruickshank, Manager for the Foundation and Global Philanthropy at Mattel.
I love the impact and the longevity and the resilience, which then leads to this wonderful award. And of course, the Barbie movie. It was so thoughtful, and it was mesmerizing.
Yeah. It was a great time for us at Mattel. I think as little girls and Barbie fans, then coming to the company to work with the brand, and then seeing that movie take off and like bring out generations.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Together.
Mothers and daughters and even grandmothers. I probably would go in the grandmother field. But.
Yes. Dressing up, like feeling together. It was a community effort. And, our favorite part about it was that right from the start, they were talking about what are we doing for social impact. So this movie and everything that goes wrapped around it, their piece of that puzzle has to be like, what's the campaign that we're then, putting out into the world to do good.
So how much is Inan, your president, your CEO?
Our CEO, yeah.
Yes, your CEO, please. I'm sorry, Inan. What does he say to you guys about continuing to do the work?
Yeah, he's a good advocate because he's the chairman as well as the CEO. And every year I have to go into the Mattel board and present our strategy, look back at last year, present our strategy for this year. Brittany and I work very closely on that. And he's seen the evolution of what we've done really coming out of COVID. And especially him coming into the company, because things changed. We were needing to make some changes for the corporation, and that trickled into our area as well. But we found that integrating more into our brands and our brand purpose rather than operating in a silo over here as like the CSR. We now are embedded and a part of every single one of those brands.
That's the way to do it.
I want Brittany to kind of talk a little bit more about that because she really has been the one that has like, I am pulling up a chair. You don't need to offer me a seat, but we're coming in because we're going to enhance all the work that you're doing with ideas around social impacts.
We are so lucky to work with such iconic brands at Mattel, like, Hot Wheels, Barbie, American Girl celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. So there's so much to celebrate consistently with our brands, and that global inclusion of the product they're making is what has really given us that opportunity. So it starts from day one of design, and we get in on those meetings and we say like, oh, okay, we're creating a doll for T1D or for a doll with autism or cars that are being developed for children who can't get on the floor and play with cars, but they can have a car in their lap. So we are now connecting our design teams with our network of nonprofit partners to say, let's get in on that design piece of it. And then we start the conversation at such an early stage that we can see it through development. And then ultimately the execution is then we bring those toys to life and those get to be in the hands of children. And we are bringing that to every single stage of that process. And now we're that reliable partner for our brands.
Reliable partner.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you earn pulling up that chair? What did you personally do? Because one of my themes for this conference is about mastery and that you got to put in the time. So how did you pull up that chair? What gave you the groundwork, the foundation to do that?
Well, I mean, we just celebrated our 80th anniversary. So obviously legacy of the foundation and of our philanthropic work. But similar to what Nancy was saying about coming out of COVID, innovating. So we had to create, okay, we're not doing events anymore. How are we giving back? How are we showing up? And being that we're a small but nimble team, we're able to then make that quick decision making. We're able to show up in authentic ways with our partners in the community. And what we started doing there is highlighting that to our brand. So that internal communication of saying, these are the stories that we're telling. And now people come to us and they say, the work we're doing with you is why we're at this company. This is why we stay here.
Why? There you go. That's the value creation.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes. And imagine connecting a designer that's just beginning to build this doll with the organization that they're building it for.
That is a secret power.
Yes. And they then are, absorbed in this world. They feel good about the work that they're doing. And so they then become another part of our team. They're another advocate to all of our other brand designers to say, hey, you're starting this project, call Brittany and Nancy, and they'll connect you to the organization to help you authentically design this product. And then it just bounces around. So it really is like making that first connection. And then it just becomes word of mouth. Like it's not hard to want to feel good with the work that you do. So it's been a floodgate, honestly, for us. And it's a joy.
You're part of the strategy team. It's an integrated strategy team. And you have, I love, pulled up the chair. You didn't have to earn it. You're showing it. So that's great. How do you prove the impact? What kind of measurement are you using?
Yeah, that's a really great question because we're lucky enough that we really truly, like at the heart of it, because I've talked to many different corporate philanthropy teams, and I know there's a difference in the way they have to prove their impact versus what I think we're being asked to do simply because it shows up in our storytelling, in our brands, in our fans. I'd say the measurement for us and our whole play it forward strategy, we've just simply decided that if we affect one person today, that metric is enough because you don't know then the ripple effect after that. And we've kind of just decided to say in our storytelling and the way that we talk about our impact, because it's showing up in the toys that are landing on the shelf. There's not much more I think a company and an organization like us really have to show when we see a little girl with autism with the doll that she never expected. to have. Or we have an amazing campaign called Brave Barbie and now Brave Ken. And we're debuting Brave Ken here at EFG out on the lawn tomorrow. So for all of you listeners, maybe that'll show up on social media to see. But since 2013, they've manufactured it's not part of the commercial world. All of these dolls get given to the foundation and we give them out. So even just if it was that program alone, to say that we manufacture a doll and we're the only toy company that does this specifically to give away to a certain community to affect these lives, that's enough impact for me.
Agreed. And when we show up in the community with our partners, with all of our brands and play experiences, it really is about that experiential moment. So you see a child receive a first of something. Like we even talked about it this morning at the main stage of like these effects that are happening to children and to young adults and to adult fans across the board. It can be so simple as just something that keeps them going, something that gives them light and gives them the courage to keep going on. And maybe they're having a hard day. Maybe they're going through a struggle or a crisis. And being able to live through a play experience, that is so powerful. So again, back to the point of that power of one. And like, if we're showing up in a volunteer moment, if we're working with a nonprofit partner, the fact that we're able to be part of that is enough for us. We don't have to be the owners. We don't have to be the creators. We want to just be part of the.
That's fantastic. I want to underscore the fact that you take your innovators and your designers into the field. They meet community members. And Microsoft has done that with their adaptive controllers.
Yeah.
IKEA has done with their furniture.
Yes.
And it's just brilliant. It's embedding a needed social issue, something that makes total sense and alignment with what you do. There is no fakery there. It's part of your soul.
Exactly. Well, and no one in our right minds would think that they know. The first, I think, Barbie that I remember that they were working on for a specific community, it was Barbie and a wheelchair. So they were like, okay, a wheelchair, like we can just look, specific general designs. And we said, okay, why don't you talk to a children's hospital? Because
talk to Shriners, for example.
Sure. That there might be some nuances here and there that make it really authentic and making it seem like you're really seeing the community. And there were adjustments that they made. And to a designer, they were like, I don't know everything about this, so I should be talking to the organizations that do.
Yeah, I love that we're talking here about what does authentic show up as.
Yes, it shows up as not believing that you don't know everything, that you have to ask.
That's a humility.
Yes, absolutely. It's a learning process for everyone. And go to the experts. We're not the experts. We're simply the givers.
So anything else about winning this incredible recognition? I mean, you must feel great.
Coming off the heels of our 80th anniversary last year, we created a campaign around that, 80 Moments for 80 Years. And going into it, we splashed a slide in front of our leadership team of here's what we're planning to do. And their jaws hit the floor. And we said, but guess what? This is what we do every year. We're just giving you insight into it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And so we had our work cut out for us with our global teams. And so coming off of a year like that, this is just the wind in our sails to be able to say, let's keep going on. What's next? How do we keep changing? How do we keep influencing? But also looking back and saying, that was incredible momentum and getting our leadership to really believe, really be part of the purpose piece of things was game-changing for us and for many others within the organization too.
Any other insights or suggestions to other companies that they can embed and they can be authentic and they can be aligned?
Number one, don't wait for the chair, pull it up yourself and go maybe just that one extra moment forward. We've all sat in these meetings. We've seen how things go in a collaborative group or when a company's deciding whether or not they're leading through marketing or a brand launch or through philanthropy. And they all marry together. So the philanthropy teams, just bully your way up in there. And usually we know everything about the business and all the brands and really just kind of take it over and say, we should really be thinking about everything we do, putting something impactful in it. It's not hard. It's all about the storytelling. And I promise it pays off. And it pays off in such a way that maybe it's employee retention. Maybe it's just a unifying moment, or, that's good enough. Yeah. And then just keep going. Just keep showing up.
Well, thanks for being on the show, and congratulations on your great award and your incredible energy and intentionality and pulling up the chair. That's going to be our new mantra. So thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks for having us. This is very, very special.
Hi, Carol Cohn here, and we are at Engage for Good, and I am just finding fabulous people to interview. So joining me is Karoline Katus, and she is a director of principal gifts at the Obama Foundation. And I love President Obama, so what a great job for you, Karoline, and welcome to the show, Purpose 360.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be at the Engage for Good conference with you, learning about social impact and the great partnerships. As you know so well, one of the queens of great partnerships.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very kind. I'm sure you run into him and Michelle, but what's it like to work with them?
Well, they're incredible. They have an amazing vision. The Obama Presidential Center is opening on the south side of Chicago on Juneteenth. The 19-acre campus will include a museum, over 30 pieces of site-specific art from some of the most incredible artists like Mark Bradford and Julie Moretu. We'll have a branch of the Chicago Public Library. There'll be a fruit and vegetable garden, an athletic center.
Basketball court.
Yes, the President Obama's NBA regulation size. Yeah, so there'll definitely be a lot of exciting games played on the court. And it's really a gift to the south side of Chicago and a gift to the United States. It will be a cultural institution, but an institution focused on uplifting democratic principles.
That's beautiful.
The museum will actually start with the history of the United States and all of the people that have come before the Obamas and the shoulders of which they stand on. And they wanted to create that historical context so people understand what democracy is and what democracy looked like when the country was founded 250 years ago.
And it's opening on Juneteenth.
Yes, very special opening date. And so right now we're starting to do previews of it for staff and friends and family and our community around town. So very, very exciting.
So tell me a little bit about your job. And we've been there about a couple of years now.
I've been here for 2 years. So I work on our individual giving philanthropy side of things. So I work with our philanthropists around the country who are interested in investing in both the center as well as our programs. So we have global programs where we train leaders for a values-based leadership development, 6-month training. And we have cohorts in the United States, Asia Pacific, Europe, and Africa. And these leaders come from all industries. We have about 30% in the public sector, 30% in the private sector, and 30% in nonprofits. So we have,
across different sectors.
Exactly. And the framework for the leadership training is focused on values. The leaders are encouraged to identify their own values that drive them and reflect on the values that the President and Mrs. Obama have created. That includes courage and integrity and hope, and how that tells their own story. So that's some of the modules are around. And then there's modules around coalition building and making sure that you're bringing your impact and programs are affecting a wide range of people, not necessarily just people who are aligned with your identities.
And it's the ripple effect that President Obama and Mrs. Obama always strive to do, and they do so well, especially in a post-presidential role. Is there any special focus that you want to call out right now?
Just for people to come visit us in Chicago once the center opens after Juneteenth. The ticket sales have gone live. So anyone listening, go to our website and you'll be able to sign up for a ticket soon.
Super great. Thanks for being so gracious with your time. I can't wait to see the opening and the center, and again, more great impact that the Obamas will have on us going forward and our values as a country, and also during our 250th anniversary year.
That's right. Thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you. Carol Cohn here at Engage for Good, and we are just grabbing wonderful people who are part of this community to share with us what are they doing, who are they advancing. So Navid, Ladha, you are the founder of OnPurpose Careers. So welcome to the show and tell us about OnPurpose Careers and what the offering is.
Thank you. Well, OnPurpose Careers specifically serves nonprofit professionals or social impact professionals who are looking for a new opportunity. We offer job search coaching, career coaching, and we also have a job board that specifically highlights well-paid opportunities. Our mission is to help social impact professionals find opportunities that pay well. This idea that you have to take a pay cut to work in a job that's mission aligned is something, so basically we want to help people find jobs that are mission aligned.
I love that. So name the numbers of these basic salaries and from X to Y.
Sure.
They're not inconsequential.
So our job board, to be posted on our job board, it has to have $80K or more for the salary. But most of the jobs that we're highlighting, honestly, are well into the six figures. So that's great. That's such an amazing thing to see for the sector, that type of pay exists. We highlight a very specific slice of the market. We also highlight remote opportunities. Yes. And so at any given time, if you go to our job board, you'll notice there are 134 jobs.
I was so impressed with that. It wasn't like 3 or 4. It was a lot.
It was a lot, and we're refreshing them all the time.
And can you tell a story of a really successful match that was made?
I mean, I guess the most successful story that I can think of is I was working with this woman who wanted to work in communications, and she pivoted from the for-profit sector into the nonprofit sector. And her fear was, I want to do this mission-aligned work in health, but I'm afraid that I'll have to take a big salary cut. And what we found out was that she was actually able to get a salary increase, remote flexibility, and be mission aligned. So that was a myth that we were able to bust for her.
That's really great. And what are the sectors that you're supporting?
We have opportunities that are, when we say purpose-driven, that can be so broad. But most times we're looking at education, justice, democracy, social impact, public health, you name it, we have it.
That's fantastic. So you got to give advice. I know you're a career counselor before you founded the company, and now what's advice that you're giving to young people? Maybe they're a couple years out of school. They want a purpose-driven job. They want to bring their values to work. What's the advice you're giving them?
My advice would be to think of it in 2 filters, right? So the first filter is, what is the field or the topic of interest that you have? Where do you want to be working? What is it that you're passionate about? And then the second part is actually, what do you do well? So then finding out, what is it that I want to do in this bigger area of impact? I think combining those 2 things really helps. Oftentimes people kind of go for one or the other. So either they're too narrow in their focus or they're too broad. But finding that middle ground is what's helpful.
And what's your advice about getting a leg up? I mean, is it doing an internship or a fellowship, or is it working maybe at the lower salary because you want to get, that first job on your resume?
For entry-level job seekers, absolutely. I think internships are a must. So if you can get that experience while you are in school, that's very helpful. And the good news is that if you haven't been to a career center on campus, you have those resources for you that can help you find those internships, get you connected to alumni, get you connected to employers. Take that opportunity while you have it. Even if it is an unpaid internship, a lot of universities actually offer a scholarship.
There you go.
That will pay you to take an unpaid internship so you don't have to sacrifice that.
Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for the great work you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So welcome back to Purpose 360, and we have our next interview with a marvelous superstar young guy who won a key award here. So please share your name and your organization, and we'll get into the award and your work.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here on the podcast. Really appreciate it. My name is Jorge Alvarez. I am from Jersey City, New Jersey. I am the Senior Manager of Corporate partnerships and engagement at Active Minds. Active Minds is a national nonprofit specifically focused on mobilizing youth and young adults. So what that actually means in practice is we have programs through which we distribute to our chapter network of over 500 across the country at different universities, and high schools and different communities, a number of different resources. And in doing so, we are able to equip youth and young adults with the skills and resources and knowledge and education that they need to then advocate for mental health and change in their communities. So we really try to give young people what it is they need to make the change that they know they need most, because oftentimes a lot of organizations in this space are sort of guessing what they need and are building for them but without them. And so we try to kind of flip that model on its head.
You're of the sector for the sector. Talk about the award that you're getting. Let's just start there.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It is the Emerging Leader Award as part of the Halo Leadership Awards. Congrats to you as well.
Thank you.
It's the first time that they're doing it. And something that I was sharing with Munir and others is honestly just, I think it's one thing to have awards and acknowledge progress and acknowledge contributions to fields. And something that I also really appreciate is acknowledging the potential, right? And I think that that's something that applies to each of us, the three of us who are receiving different awards. And I think especially evident in the context of the Emerging Leader Awards. So, really privileged to be acknowledged, of course, for what I've contributed so far, but also the potential and all that there needs to be done in the years to come.
So what is your superpower?
Relationship building. Absolutely.
Relationship building. And it's been really effective for Active Minds.
Absolutely. I think relationship building is something I've had to do across all the work I do, whether it's being an advocate in college, whether it's continuing to advocate for mental health in my personal capacity today, and especially in my 9-to-5, really thinking about how you authentically build relationships that aren't just one-offs, aren't transactional. And it's really about the longevity of the relationship and thinking about how do you actually get to know the folks on the other side and evolve together.
So what else is your secret sauce in that relationship development?
I would say not feeling the pressure up front to lead with a pitch or lead with a sell. I know there's some advice people give, and it's great advice to say, hey, if you know what you want, lean into it, say it. And it's not that I'm straying away from any other agenda that I have. For lack of better words, it's more so, I think, just being selective with how I lean into and when I lean into really putting an ask out there. And also recognizing that there are other opportunities to build together in the space. So then I think a lot of Gen Zers in this space lead with just from the very beginning of their careers. I think that's something that they try to channel. And I think that is something I've been carrying with me for lack of, when it comes to the secret sauce that you're talking about.
Okay, so it's something we call give to get. So so you're not asking for something, you're giving collaboration, you're giving insights, you're giving techniques, you're giving resources to develop the relationship.
Well, a question for you. I guess, where do you feel like the give to get can become challenging or can feel like a wall?
Well, I think the question is you could keep giving. And if the recipient takes and has no intention of ever moving things forward, you would hope that at some point in time you can say, I see that you might have a need in this area. And, if appropriate, love to talk with you. And the question is, how overt is that down the road, the conversation?
So one more question for you. What would you suggest to me who's been leaning into that strategy? And so far it's worked to an extent. I mean, in my short 2.5-year career at Active Minds, but what could I do to better recognize when that point hits?
Well, if you're very relational, you're going to once sense it, that the door is opening. I think that the more that you're giving of aligned resources and information, so it's really helpful, there's a cadence of providing the giving, and everybody loves a meal. I said that in my presentation. Have a meal, and you're talking about your family and your friends and things that aren't work related, and you're developing the relationship with it, and it's got to be authentic. So I think that you're very profound, and you've got an instinct. So you also want to lean into your instinct. And then the response is going to be, you do your homework before you're even, beginning to create the relationship. What kind of partnership might they be? What are they looking for? What are their needs? Who are they working for previously? It's doing your homework. And I hate to say it, don't have ChatGPT do all the homework. You've got to, maybe some of their current partners you could even talk with, off the record about, gee, there's this issue in mental health and well-being for Gen Z, and how can we advance this forward? Or offer a panel at a conference that you could lead and invite them to. So again, giving to get, but something that's authentic and real.
Yeah, I was going to also add to a point from earlier. No, but now I'm going to share some interesting context. I think something that's been, to this question of yours about what's been my approach or what's the secret sauce, what's been a strength of mine in navigating my role in building the corporate portfolio for Active Minds. I think a layer of what's helped is that Active Minds, since I joined, was going through this transition of actively figuring out how do we make what we're doing make sense to people, period. To the people we were working with, to our community partners. And then obviously my team was tasked with this big prompt of like, how do we make our approach of mobilizing youth and young adults make sense to funders? And I think honestly, having those conversations from the very beginning point of my role has helped continue to evolve the conversation around, right, how I communicate what I do to the funder and ultimately find how to make the other person on that other side of the conversation understand what we're doing, which has been challenging, but I think it's been like an ongoing exercise for the last 2.5 years.
Have you learned anything really, really that's going to stick with you and when you leave here and take home to your work?
I know it's so cliche. I'm sure everyone said it, but when Munir at the beginning gave this speech where he was naming his scarcity mindset, right? I think being in the nonprofit corporate social impact space, there is inherently a lot of, feeling like you need to protect your brand, you need to protect the resources, especially right now, given the political landscape and the landscape of the field and how it's evolving. But I would say, I think just the humility that leaders like Munir are leading with, and seeing also, there's so many ways that I identify with Munir and his journey, I think for me is a reminder that there are other people who are also trying to lead with that humility. And that's a word that I always bring up, is leading with humility, and working with young people and leading with humility in that context is so important. So I think honestly taking that back and also knowing that there are folks who are excited to figure out ways to work together and share resources. This is just the beginning of many more conversations to come. I think a lot of folks feel the pressure to walk away and say, okay, who's A, B, and C that I'm going to email and how can I convert those conversations? But I think, showing up to the Engage for Good is more of like a long game.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about AI and your generation and the angst that, and, not coming out of school and not getting a job. How, that's got to be part of Active Minds. And so do you have any comments on that or programmatic support for that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I've advised on boards where we are working on Gen AI resources for parents and their children and people in their lives. So AI is not a new conversation. In the context of my career, moving into this sort of age of AI, it's going to be important that we continue to know how we wield AI to support what it is that we're doing and how to operationalize it in a way that actually allows us to focus our energy on what matters. So maybe, for instance, in the sake of this conversation, it's how could I have all these admin pieces more automated so that I can focus my energy on having these conversations? I think that I'm thinking about it in a very practical sense. And I think a lot of young people are still thinking about it in a very practical sense at the moment. I'm not necessarily concerned, but I do know that because I'm not in a technical field where things, for instance, like in the tech field or software engineering or design, where there's AI that's very aggressively and in surprisingly great ways, able to accomplish certain tasks, I don't have the same sense of panic, but I'm trying to maintain caution and awareness, as with everyone.
That sounds very wise for your years.
Yeah. I think my generation has learned from social media. Growing up with social media, it's the same. I think it's going to be a similar cycle.
So in closing, it's a year from now where we're back and engaged for good wherever it's going to be. What do you want to see Active Minds accomplish in the next year?
I would say right now, something that we've been working towards is our mobilizing 100,000 youth and young adults by 2028. So it sounds can be vague to some, but to be more specific, we have a really interesting scale of a young person who's not engaged in the mental health movement. And then we have a scale of what that looks like for someone to sort of progress onward to the point of engagement and advocacy in their communities. And so we, through some of our programs, whether it's our Mental Health Advocacy Academy, which directly trains youth and young adults in high schools or colleges, to again, have the skills that they need to work and do the change, or again, make the change that they want to have. I would say it's seeing that we're actually progressing towards that goal, right? It's a big fancy number, but what does it actually look like in practice? So I would say we've really been able to work towards mobilizing more youth and young adults to take action.
That's fantastic. So any last comments about the conference or your award?
It's been really exciting to be here this year. While it's my third time, it's my first time leading 2 sessions. And it's been really nerve-wracking. I'm like, I need to lay down after this, that's for sure. But I'll say what I've learned from those conversations is folks are really, really eager to continue the dialogue.
Great. Well, congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
And we'll party on tonight. So thank you.
Amazing. I'll see you late tonight.
This podcast was brought to you by some amazing people, and I'd love to thank them. Ann Hundertmark and Kristen Kenny at Carol Cone OnPurpose, Pete Wright and Andy Nelson, our crack production team at True Story FM, and you, our listener. Please rate and rank us, because we really want to be as high as possible as one of the top business podcasts available, so that we can continue exploring together the importance and the activation of authentic purpose. Thanks so much for listening.